Hi folks, it's Rich here, stuck between two guitars. This is a sort of a comparison, I suppose, between, this is a PRS and this is a Harley Benton. Now, for those who haven't watched any of my other stuff, I'm a novice guitarist. This is guitar number 88 for me. I haven't kept them all, by the way. I've had everything from Gibson, Epiphone, PRS, Schecter, Ibanez, 18 Harley Bentons, lots of those, and everything in between really. So I think I'm reasonably well placed in some respects to say, is it worth paying 3 times as much for a guitar? Do you get 3 times the amount of guitar, really? Now, before you say anything, I know these two aren't totally like for like. You've got an ESP Eclipse copy here, and then you've got sort of Les Paul PRS style. However, they're both mahogany body, they're both mahogany neck, they've both got humbuckers on them. So I'm going to do a little bit on sound, but I just really wanted to say to anybody who's on a budget, certainly I am, and it's is it worth spending more to get a PRS? Just like is it worth spending more to get a Fender over a Squire or whatever, I suppose, really. Now, these, I'm in the UK. If you want to import one of these from Thomann now, with the import cost and the VAT, they're best part £200, which is still exceptional value for money, and for me, better than an Epiphone still, or a lot of Epiphones. This PRS, which is the 245, which is the latest model, is about 550. So it depends where you buy it from. Second hand, these go for about, I've sold this actually, it's about to be sold today. These go for anywhere between about 120 and 150 pounds second hand, and these are about 375-ish. So it's 2.5 to 3 times the amount of money more to go PRS over Harley Benton. So is it worth doing that? And should you do that? Well, I think one of the biggest things this comes down to is what you want on the headstock of your guitar. Now, unfortunately, we live in a world where we're conditioned pretty much from birth about marketing, aren't we? We're told what is quality, we're told what we should want. Things are made desirable by the marketeers out there in the world. So PRS is a desirable guitar, and obviously they do make very high-end things as well. But do you want PRS on your headstock, or do you want Harley Benton on your headstock? It's probably a daft question, but it's an important question, because if you aren't fussed about what's on your headstock, you can get a good guitar for a lot less money. Now, the quality control on Harley Bentons is a bit up and down, to say the least, but that said, it is on some premium guitars. PRS seems to do a lot better job of not having QC issues. This is my 5th PRS in total, and they've all been absolutely spot on. I might have just got lucky, but they're spot on. Whereas you're not going to get that necessarily with a budget guitar. I've had 18 Harley Bentons, at least 5 of them have had problems. So, what do you want on your headstock? That is a big question. Now, just taking these two as an example, really, they're both bound, and the binding on both of them is clear. The lines are crisp. There are no sort of flaw issues, unlike the Epiphone I had recently. So that's good. The neck joints on these, different kind of neck joints, but you've still got access to the upper frets on them. That both works well. You've got Grover tuners on the Harley Benton, and then you've got PRS's own tuners on the 245. Which are better? Well, it's hard to say. They're both good. I think the Grovers feel a little bit nicer, but they both keep the guitar in tune, so that's a good thing. And then one of the other things you'll see a lot more on more budget guitars, you've got rosewood here on the PRS, which although the CITES rules have now changed and you're seeing it a bit more, certainly not so much on the lower end guitars. This is Jatoba on here, or Brazilian cherry. It's the same thing. The flooring industry referred to it as Brazilian cherry. The guitar world calls it Jatoba generally. Roasted Jatoba, so it's been baked, which is a bit fanciful for saying it's not going to lose its it's not going to be susceptible to moisture, but are they really? But it looks quite pretty. And then, of course, the next thing that's really important on any guitars is what's the fretwork like. Well, this particular SE Custom 2 is bound, as you can see, the same as the PRS, that's also bound. And the fretwork on both of them is really good. No issues at all. The SC Custom 2, the frets aren't polished when you buy it new, although these are on this one that's been done, and they are on a PRS. So it's a small thing, you know, if you were to restring it, you could polish your frets, that's not a big deal. In terms of fret leveling, Harley Benton, lucky on this one, there are no dead spots on it. Might not be the case with the next Harley Benton you get. This PRS, no dead spots, never, and all the other ones I've had, never been an issue with that. So, both good in that respect. And then you've got obviously the looks of the guitars. These are two very different looking guitars. This is the second SC Custom 2 I've had in the same colour, and the flame maple veneer on here, which is pretty. It was prettier on the other one I had. Again, it's just look at the draw of it really. But there are no floor finishes in this one. It's not book matched properly, but you know, you see that on all sorts of guitars. But there are no floor finishes in it, and there aren't in the PRS either. You get a tusk nut on here. You get a plastic nut on here. They're both fine, you know, they're both holding tune. But again, if you get Harley Benton, you get some certain things that are better spec'd because of the, you know, for the money. Then the controls. Now, okay, you know, you've got four-way on here and different on here. And you'll notice in any of my other videos, I'm a bit of a stickler for the tone control and how useful the tone control is. On this Harley Benton, it doesn't do anything. It's on or off. On the PRS, the tone pots do something. They do work, which is useful. So I'm just going to now, what have I done with my pick? There is. I'm just going to put the amp on, just on clean initially, and then I'll do dirty. And I'm just going to keep this really simple because this is far from a scientific test. But I just wanted to, tiny bit out of tune, new strings. I'm going to put the volume to the top on all positions on here and just play a couple of chords and get a bit of a feel for how it rings out, how loud it is. Don't know how well that mic is going to pick that up, but that's only just stopped ringing. I'm going to look at the timer on the phone. I'm staring at it, and that is rung for about 9 seconds. So that's on the neck. Let's get on the neck on here. Volume up to the top. Well, straight away, I think we can hear that that's quite dull. Now, they're set up very similarly, these are. The actions are low, the pickups, height of the strings is very similar. So straight away, you've got muddy. Yeah, not ringing out as much. Let's see what it rings. I'm just watching the timer again. 6 or 7 seconds. Okay, so that's interesting. So the first thing to note, the neck pickup on the PRS rings out longer, is less muddy and is louder. So we'll just go on to the middle position, do the same thing. Boop. Middle. It's ringing out for a long time. Let's have a quick go on the middle one on the Harley Benton. Like I say, not overly scientific, but just trying to give you a feel really for if I spend best part of 3 times the amount of money, what am I getting? Is it worth it? What am I getting? So these particular pickups are much darker Roswell pickups, which are the stock pickups you get on Harley Benton. It's about a second more, slightly longer ring. So you might get slightly different humbuckers on some of the other models. I mean, I've had the SC500s, 450 and 550s as well. They're all Roswell pickups. They're nearly all Alnico 5, although they might say they're voiced differently. And now on the bridge. That is a clean channel, I promise. It's a little bit of game on there. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Yeah, far more ringy. Put that out there. Quickly get the Harley Benton back. Oh, boink. Boink. Yeah, so a lot less output on these particular ones, and the sustain isn't as good. So I stress, clearly not overly scientific test here, but I think in terms of how well it handles gain as well, if you watch some of the other videos, you'll see me playing this quite a bit, and it's usually with some gain on. I think the takeaway thing for me really is I really like this guitar, and I was well, I say it was a bit low to sell. That's kind of am really, because it's very nice to play. It's really good value for money, and it doesn't sound too bad. But having said that, since getting the PRS, you do hear how much better the pickups are in that guitar. But I suppose the thing is, if you're a bit of a tinkerer and you like to play around with your guitars, I mean, this is a pretty looking guitar. If you can get one, I mean, I'm selling this for £120, which it's pretty spotless. This is, if you're someone who can play around a bit with guitar stuff, and you could change the pickups and you could get them at a decent price, if you can get a decent set of pickups for 100 quid, say, second hand, or I don't know, some lesser branded ones, and put it in here. The rest of the guitar is good. It's nice. It's a nice guitar. The tone knob's pretty hopeless, but again, a bit of wiring on that, you could change it. You've got yourself a good bass guitar, bass level guitar. So, but then I guess the big thing comes back down to what you want on your headstock, doesn't it really? And I hate to say this because I'm not snobby and I'm not anything special, but there is something nice, isn't there, about having a guitar with that sort of heritage. Paul Reed Smith, 35 years, 40 years, or whatever, they've been making guitars, high-end guitars, signature guitars for people. You're sort of buying into the brand a little bit and the history and the heritage, and you've got it all that I've got. It's just like your jeans. If you've got a pair of, I don't know, supermarket own brand ones or some Levi's, it's a sad world we live in. So it depends how important that is to you. But my takeaway for you on this is what I would say. If you've on a budget and you don't want to spend, or you can't afford to spend sort of £550 or whatever it might be for this, and you can get a Harley Benton, then get the Harley Benton, because just straight day-to-day playing, especially if you're a casual bedroom player or whatever, this is not 3 times better than the other one for that kind of play. For that sort of day-to-day playing. It's not. If you're going to be, if the brand's important to you, or if you're going to be someone going on stage and the pickups are important, then I suppose by the time you've played around with the other one and changed the pickups and paid for them, then you're up to 50% or more of the cost of one of these, especially if you've got it second hand. Then the cost differential is less so. So this, beautiful. Sustain better, rings out longer, pickups more articulate, that's all good. But for the day-to-day casual user of the guitar, is it worth spending all that extra money for this? Yeah, no, it's not. So there you go. It's I'm glad I've got it. You know, fortunate enough to be able to have afforded it, and now I keep it. It's yeah. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. Be interested to hear some comments from people who have got a more premium branded guitar and some cheaper ones, whether it's Harley Benton or other brands, and just see what you think, and also how important brand names are to you and what you think about it. So yes. Anyway, Rich out. Please subscribe and like. What else do we say? Bell. Hit the bell. Only kidding. Thanks.